Hello and welcome to episode 66 of Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast, where I am once again joined by Faye Roberts. We're going to do part two of your episode. Part one, very much going through your entire story from the beginning right through to present day. And this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit different. So we're going to talk about the impact of the Hirschsprungs. We're going to talk about a little bit of plans for the future that we've been talking about a little bit as well, and of course, dogs. So Faye, again, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again so much for coming on. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about the impact of Hirschsprungs for you. We talked a little bit about it in the first episode. Would you like to elaborate a little bit as well?
Yeah, so I guess the impact of Hirschsprung's as a child, if we separate child to adult, yes, I had an education, but I would say it was limited. I still managed to go to school. Um, I still had some education, enough to do a diploma, a couple of diplomas actually, in college, and then moving on to do a social work degree. Um, I find studying and concentration for long periods of time difficult. Um, but it's definitely doable. Put your mind to anything, it's definitely doable. Um, career-wise, as an older adult now, it's still difficult.
Hmm.
It's still very much a challenge. But I think as a society and within management level, we are getting better with reasonable adjustments. The government access to work scheme, which is really beneficial. Dead easy, just make an application, they assess you. So for me, sitting at a desk all day, and lack of core because of all the surgery, particularly 2019, I've got no core at all. Um, so referral to access to work from the government, they supplied me with a standing up desk and a chair, a decent chair to sit at all day. So that's a real positive that, as a society and as a government, we're getting better.
Good.
We are getting much, much better. Um, and I guess out in the community, from an impact of Hirschsprung's, let's touch upon disabled toilets, which is
Yes.
the bee in my bonnet. Um, they're not great at all. Um, They don't accommodate people with stomas, or an ace for that matter. Um, if I would have real struggle to do to flush use my ace and do the flush out of my bowel, um, out and about in the community. It's really difficult. There's no shelf in the disabled toilet. Disabled toilets are absolutely disgusting 9 times out of 10. Um, yeah, they're just not great, and it's disabled toilets for stomas, that doesn't have to cost the earth. It's literally a hook, a shelf, and a mirror. That's it. We're talking 50 quid here. We're not talking thousands. Um, and there's just a lack of um I want to say a lack of responsibility
Yeah.
from these public toilets. Yeah, it's a real bee in my bonnet.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just literally thinking of the whole life circle, if you like, and how it impacts from a Hirschsprung's point of view. So yeah, work is definitely doable. Um, accessing the community is doable, but you've got to search for a decent toilet, um, or plan your day around eating or not eating, in my case. Um, relationships. should we talk about relationships? I've never had an issue really.
Yeah.
Um, even as a teenager, young 20s, I had a relationship. And I had a stoma by then actually. It was never an issue whatsoever. Um, I lived my 20s, teenage years and 20s. I went out and I got absolutely paralytic on a number of occasions. Yeah, giving my parents a bit of extra grey hairs. So I definitely lived my teenage years, mainly around alcohol, on a weekend. And I went to college. It was so that side of things is definitely normal. Um, I would say alcohol, I think my hangovers were whether I drank more than my friends, I'm not sure. But anyway,
Can you
um,
remember?
no. I think my hangovers lasted longer and were more intense. Um, so the hangovers the next day, especially if you're vomiting, I think it's worse than the average Joe blogs.
Yeah.
And they definitely lasted longer. Um, yeah. Other than that, I lived my life as any other normal 20-year-old. Um, I did a skydive. I went on holidays. I did long haul holidays, even traveled to the Maldives, and it was fine. Um, I just, the traveling to the Maldives was like 18 hours because we had to do a stopover in Turkey. Um, so I just managed what, sorry,
Sorry, go on.
go on. Um, so I just managed my diet, a couple of days before, really light meals, and just literally light snacks throughout the flight rather than a big meal. Um, because for me, I would need to have flushed on the flight, and that's a no-go.
No,
We
no.
don't we don't want to be doing that.
I can't imagine they had stoma-friendly toilets, several thousand feet in the air.
No, no, not at all. So we don't want to be doing that.
No.
But it's doable.
Yeah,
It
but I
is
think
absolutely doable.
I think that's really good to hear. Especially, I have a lot of listeners who are new-ish mums and dads who maybe have children who are, babies or certainly children under the age of sort of 4 or 5. And to know that in part one, obviously going through everything that you went through, you still live quote unquote normal life, um, is fantastic to hear. And the fact you can still go out drinking, you can still go on long haul flights, you can go, but it's like you said, it's just preparation being
Mm.
really, really important, and you just have to plan ahead more than the average person, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Top tip, share your stoma supplies throughout all the suitcases. Um, Even better, put them in your hand luggage and take your hand luggage with you.
Yes, yes,
Um, yeah, I'll take extra.
so another thing that we share, a mutual love, I guess, is of dogs. I've talked a little bit on this podcast before about my dog, my dog that I look after, a spaniel, a very energetic spaniel, who loves running and tennis balls mainly. But you are also a lover of dogs as well. Would you like to share a little bit about your dog?
I am, yeah. So I've always had a dog as a child. Growing up, always had a dog or dogs, as the family within the family home. Um, and growing up, I, took them for walks and did the basic care of dogs as I grew up. My love for spaniels, cocker spaniels, came as my grandmother had two cocker spaniels who were absolutely mental. They were berserk, um, and they're so so clever. So I always said, you know, when I've moved out, I want my own cocker spaniel, and Yeah, I've always had a real passion and love for dogs, really. I went to do a diploma in animal care from leaving school, and then I did dog grooming thereafter, and I set up a business for about 10 years, which was, it did really, really well, actually. Um, and then I met my husband, and I moved about half an hour away from my hometown, um, to my husband's new property as he just bought it. So it made sense for me to move down here. And I found that I was just traveling half an hour, 40 minutes just to groom one dog. And so I ceased the business really. When I look back, I regret it, but it is what it is. And then obviously I went to do my social work degree,
Yes.
midlife crisis. Um, yeah, but still dogs has been my passion, my interest, my everything really. Um, when I was in and out of hospital, even on my day releases, my mum would bring the family dog down for her to sit on my knee, and she was only a little Lazarapso, so yeah, we shared our McDonald's chips and whatnot. Yeah, so dogs has always been a massive part of my life, really. Um, since more than last year, I have done my scent detection instructor's course. My hope and my dream is to probably leave social work altogether, um, and focus on dog training, um, with hydrotherapy for dogs.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the 10-year goal, if you like, because it's a lot of money to set it up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, watch this space in that sense.
Well, that would be fantastic.
Mm.
And I know that your dog, Mabel, is also a therapy dog
She
as
is.
well.
So Mabel is 3 years of age now. And I got her assessed at 10 months old, which is they need to be 10 months to be assessed. Um, Basically some really good socializing, and basic obedience training. Um, yeah, and as long as they're confident with loud noises, busy environments, they like humans first and foremost. Um, it's quite easy to train your dog to be a therapy dog, really. Um, they've they need to be well socialized. I can't emphasize that enough. They need to
Yeah.
be well socialized. Yeah, she's Mabel is my absolute world. She is spoiled rotten. Um, yeah, she's and I guess even during the pancreatic attacks, she will know I'm having a bad day before I even realize. And she'll come and sit next to me, or she'll come and sniff my neck, which t tells me that my blood sugars are dropping.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she is. She is such a special dog. It's unreal. Her intelligence is just it's off the scale. She just yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And I think, again, just going back to sort of Spaniel I look after, I noticed that there are a lot of Spaniels that are very, very intelligent. They do notice things, like you said, before you do. They notice if you're not feeling too well, they'll come and sit right next to you or squish right next to you. They'll notice times as well, as is one thing. I mean that my dog is a big lover of football, and she'll know it's 3 o'clock when she'll sit by the telly at 5 to 3, waiting for the games to start. So she'll come in from the garden and wait for the games to start. But yes, they are very, very intelligent. And I think there's quite a few people who listen that do there are big lovers of dogs that will very much share your sentiment on that.
Yeah. So at 3 o'clock, the sun will be shining into your house at a certain point, and that creates a special odor. So it's not the time, it's the odor that they can read.
I didn't know that. I just thought that Soccer Saturday comes on, she hears Soccer Saturday, and she goes, "Yep, I love soccer. I love this. I'll
So
sit here in front of it."
should be associating the sound of the soccer and where the sun comes through your house will have a specific odor.
I didn't know that.
Hmm?
This is why I love doing these podcasts. I learn so much about so many things.
Yep. Yep.
No, that's fantastic. And just sort of the final sort of, I guess, 5, 10 minutes of this podcast. Um, we both attended the Hirschsprung's conference. Would that be a few weeks ago now, the 12th of February? Um, and I think there was a lot of speakers, a lot of useful information. Um, just as a whole, I mean, I know I've summed it up a little bit on my Instagram, but how would you sort of sum up the whole day?
Yeah, and it was really beneficial. It was lovely to come um into a room together from all walks of life, but with one common theme of Hirschsprungs, whether it's be a parent or a child, grandchild, whatever. Yeah, and there is a clear difference, if you like, in there were there was people within that room that had the diagnosis of Hirschsprung's, been through the fight to get to the other side and got the t-shirt, if you like, and actually doing really, really well. And there were also a small group that were, it was almost that rabbit in headlight feeling. And I just, for me, it, it showed that actually we are lacking some form of support group for Hirschsprungs. And again, coming from North Wales, but from the Northwest, we're in the middle of the country and it needs to be a nationwide support for kids and parents who are going through the diagnosis of Hirschsprung's and how to manage it. Whether that's soma surgery or washout or fiber controlled diet, whatever that may look like, for that individual, it's just about wrapping your arms around these people who are completely lost in the word of the Hirschsprung's diagnosis. And that's something definitely that we're having conversations with, particularly with older Hay, to be able to open up some form of support group. Whether that's, 2 events a year, whether we go and have a picnic in a park in the northwest, which is, the middle of the country. Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, yeah. I think the one sense I got is very much the same. That if we take, I know the whole room wasn't the whole community. There are lots of people that I know that couldn't attend or didn't attend for one reason or another. But the general consensus in the room was that there's lots of good things happening. There's lots of there's stories and experiences being shared, but almost crying out for a charity. And I know we've mentioned a little bit before about Champs and about the great work um, that was done there. And now that's kind of gone and it's left a bit of a void. And it's all about, okay, everybody sort of wants, or everybody I've spoken to wants something there. And it's now really a case of, okay, what do we do and how do we move it forward? I know you've mentioned there just about, you know, trying to start off simple and a couple of events a year in a park, not looking at things that cost the earth. We're not looking at hiring out great big conference centers or like they had at Alder Hay and hospitals and things like that. But I think having that sense of community, and I think we both know that having a community online is different to having a community face to face.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think having that, the online community, I think is growing and is going well, but having that face to face meetup, I think is something that's really, really important.
yeah. Let's watch this space. We
Yes,
are
we
definitely
definitely.
having conversations. And I guess if anyone's got any suggestions, ideas, about setting up a little bit of a support group with us, feel free to contact your Tom, and
We'll
we'll go
see.
from there.
I mean, there is a kind of Facebook group that has been set up by Ellie, who's there at the conference, and she's very good at social media. She's way better than I am, so she set it all up. But yeah, so if anybody wants to join that group, then feel free. There's people sharing some stories, sharing some ideas, and if you have any ideas, I mean, I think we've talked before as well, and we're kind of open to all ideas. I mean, there isn't really a kind of, I guess, a sort of set in stone structure, or it's at the very preliminary stages. So I think if anybody wants to help coordinate, help to um, help to facilitate that, but I think, like we've said, having that one singular voice, I think would be spokesperson, chairperson, whatever it might be. I think would be really beneficial. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a charity, I don't think, does it?
No, no, definitely just as literally a support group. We can do two events a year, within mid UK. Um, or we can do Zoom calls
Yes, that's another really good
for
idea.
2 hours, and we get a guest speaker to come in for 1 hour, and we chat and support each other the last hour. Um, that could potentially work, or a mixture of both.
Yeah. 'Cause I know you said you've done, a little bit in terms of the Zoom support groups and you found it really beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I think, something like that, even if we did just as a rough idea, Zoom calls once a month and events twice a year. I'm not saying it has to be, but just as a rough guide, something like that, I think, because I think the need is very much there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, anyone got any ideas, suggestions? Equally, if you are interested in that, let's see what if there is any interest. And we could just be waffling on here, and no one really wants to join in. So yeah, if you are interested in either event, a Zoom call or event in a park with a picnic, bring the family, bring the kids. Um, yeah, in the summer that'd be nice. So yeah,
Yeah,
any interest, let us know.
fantastic. No, I think that's wonderful and a great sentiment to finish on. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to do your second part. I know it's a little bit shorter than the first part, but thank you ever so much for your time. And yeah, hopefully, we'll the next time we meet, we'll have a support group. We'll have something up and running.
Brill. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.